Alright, time for another Guru's Rant. Hopefully some of you will like to hear these and you enjoy these. And some of you will not enjoy them, and that's okay, that's fine. Those that get benefit from it, cheers to you, and I hope that somehow or another I can make you a better martial artist. Whether you see me in person or you take my advice. Anyhow, I wanted to give you guys a little rant about my experiences in the Serak world with certain instructors. Now, we're not going to name names, but just a warning to people. A lot of times when you're eager to learn, okay, and you show initiative that you want to learn, you go to an instructor, or if you travel to go see an instructor, sometimes, obviously, they don't know you, they don't want to let you in, or they don't want you to know. But on other occasions, they do let you in to learn, and you dig deep to find out what they know, right? This happened to me a lot because I was in Miami, Florida, so there was really no Serak down here, just watered down stuff. So I would travel to Los Angeles, travel to the UK, travel to different places to learn, follow instructors all over the US to learn from them. There was this one guy who's very famous in the seminar community, does a lot of seminars, you know, claims himself to be a Maha guru or a guru in the art. And he touts himself as being this high-ranked exponent of Pendecker Paul de Tours. Well, I did research. I trained with him for a while, for about 3 years, this man, on and off, and followed him in different seminars and whatnot. And I remember that he was very eager to get me to join his association. It was all about the association. That you have to pay $3,000 a year to bring him into your state twice a year, so that's $6,000. Then there was another fee tacked onto that in order to be a part of the organization, you also had to pay $3,000 a year. So that adds up to about $9,000. And then your students have to pay a passport fee, or a fee of I think it's like $20 a month or some crap, or $50 a year. And they get these little passports that have your picture on it. They're really cute, right? And you get your certificates and whatnot. The problem with this stuff is that it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing in combat. It means absolutely nothing in Serak. In fact, you're better off buying toilet paper, because toilet paper is a little more useful. You can use it to wipe your ass. You can use it to blow your nose. So anyhow, this fella has this organization. And I remember him clearly telling me that if I wanted to learn a particular art, the art of Serak and all of the Dutch Indo type Serak, that I would have to follow that path of joining the association, paying for the passports, making my students pay money to him. Well, as the years went on and I started getting better in researching, I started noticing holes in what he was doing and noticing holes in what his students were doing, especially his senior students. And I remember one time I was training with him and he asked me point blank if I was training with the old man. Now, the old man he was referring to is Paul de Tours. Pendecker Paul was still alive, but I was not training with him. I was training with other senior students of him that outranked this particular fellow. So in my research, I found out that this particular fellow, who toots himself to be a grandmaster, pretty much only videotaped and went to seminars and would go take some private classes and would only videotape the lessons. Never really did any training, never did any training with the real senior instructors. When Pendecker Paul would have seminars or camps, this fellow would not participate and not train. Whenever he was asked to demonstrate, he would not. So, bottom line, this guy poses as a senior student of Paul de Tours, but he never was. He trained with a senior student of Pendecker Paul that taught him some things, but the reality is that senior student also didn't complete their training with Pendecker Paul. So you have now a bunch of guys out there that train stuff, and they say that they're finished or completed students of Serak or whatever. And they're full of shit. Literally full of shit. I remember this particular gentleman that I'm talking about, who does seminars all over the world. I remember him saying that Paul didn't know certain things and that the Detoirs were missing certain things and blah, blah. But the things he was talking about were things that in the curriculum are there that he never saw. You know, a lot of people claim that the Detoirs don't teach Pukulan. Well, they do, actually. Maybe you just didn't get to see it. Maybe you weren't around long enough. Maybe you didn't train. So there's a lot of guys that are seminar-based instructors that they themselves learned from either seminars or from taking a private class where the instructor would teach with another student, and they would film that class and they would learn off of tapes. Now that's very, very different than being an actual disciple of somebody or an actual student of somebody. So the rabbit hole goes even deeper. So this particular guy, I found out, really wasn't all that in the Selat world. He's full of shit. Not to mention that it's a known fact he got his ass handed to him by a real Harimau player. He ended up in the hospital with a knee surgery that needed to happen, and he had a liver problem. So this particular fellow, I wish him well. I remember one time he said something to me to the effect of not having any honor. But here's my problem with him, is that when I left him, it's because I found out how much of a fraud he is, how much of a poser he is. So anyhow, there are people like this in the Selat community you need to be aware of. They just want your money. They want you to have seminars with them. They want you to pay for their stuff. And really, they're not showing you shit. Or what they're showing you is a bunch of yo-yo madness, and it's not even the real jurus. It's not even the real stuff. It's not even the real curriculum. It's made up material. Okay? So anyhow, we want to wish him the best, and I want to thank him because a lot of his students have now come over to me to train with me. So, hey, it's his problem. There's another fella who's another grandmaster. Now, granted, this guy has skill. He's very good. My issue with him is the following, that he strings along his students for a long time, and they tend to never get anywhere. If you look at all his senior students, they've been with him 10, 12, 13, 14 years, and they still look like crap. They still don't understand the art. And I've had discussions with him. I've had discussions with him about the curriculum of Serak, particularly the curriculum of Pendekar Paul. He knows I know the curriculum. He pretends that I don't. He tells people that I don't. He talks shit about me behind my back. Meanwhile, I was helping him establish his websites, helping him establish his seminars, helping him also by bringing him in, supporting him. The problem was that I'm the type of person that never leaves any stone unturned. And I'm always very loyal to my original teacher. My original teacher was always Willem de Toirs, contrary to what people think. So, when this particular person, his ego would get in the way and say he's the best and there's nobody better than him and he's second to none and nobody's as good as him because they're just not as good and they don't understand Sarah, they don't know Serak, they don't know Sarah. Well, anyhow, I remember listening to his lectures and listening to how he teaches. You have to know the curriculum to understand what this man is teaching. But because he doesn't share the curriculum and doesn't really teach the curriculum, most people are lost. So I saw right through that. I also noticed that because he's always changing everything that he does every couple of years, made me question and wonder, well, what does he have? What does he know? And the more I researched and found out about Serak, I found out that this particular person learned a lot, but he left at a certain period where Pendekar Paul kept teaching, and Pendekar Paul kept teaching other things that this particular man did not see. Then comes into another picture. The history of Serak a little bit, so you understand. In terms of the Detwars family, you have Pendekar Paul, who studied and trained with Uncle John for about 3.5 years, 4 years maximum, which isn't that long. Then you have Uncle Maurice, who trained 12 to 14 years with Uncle John and Uncle Venji. That's a lot longer. And then you have Uncle Willem, Babak Willem, who trained with Uncle John, Uncle Venji, Uncle Addy, Uncle George, Uncle Vondel, and Uncle Jan. All of which he trained for a lot longer than his brother Paul. And if you know the history, you know that Uncle Willem began his training at a young age before Paul and Maurice. Then you have Pak Vic. Pak Vic trained with Uncle Paul. So that gives you a little bit of a history of the brothers. So you understand where I'm coming from, and you understand where these other people are coming from. So people who only saw a curriculum of a man who only trained for 4 years is incomplete. It's a basic training. Now, they might not like this, they might not like what I'm saying, and that's okay. I challenge you and I urge you to go see Uncle Willem Detwars. Show him your Serak, show him your Panjars, show him your curriculum, and then empty your cup and see if he can't teach you something you do not know. I did that. And I found out that there was a lot I still had to learn. I showed him what I learned from Uncle Paul's curriculum, from different people. I'm not going to name their names, from senior students of Uncle Paul. And what I found out was that that curriculum was basically a basic training, and that there was a lot more to learn. Now, people could say, oh, well, Santiago, you don't know anything. You're crazy. You're this, you're that. You don't know anything about Silat. Okay, that's fine. But here's my question to you. How come students of yours, Mr. Senior Gurus, are now coming to train with me? Why are they leaving you to come train with me? What is it about me, and what is it about what I know, that is leading your students to question what you've taught them all these years? There are students that I know of yours that have been with you for 10, 15, 12 years, 13 years, and they don't understand how to use the mechanics. They don't understand how to do a basic sapu. So this is not an attack on these Maha Gurus. In fact, I feel sorry for you guys, because the ego, you guys have let the ego get to you. There's another Maha Guru who taught me a lot of things. I respect him for the knowledge he gave me, which I know that knowledge came from Pendekar Paul anyways. He was very helpful in me learning a lot of things, but at the same time, whenever I outgrew the material or outgrew what he was showing me, he then would talk bad about me with other people. And then when he would see me succeed, he would then want to take the credit. Well, I wish all these people really well. But you have to understand that in the martial art world, there's two types of people. There's sincere people who really want to help and teach people. And then there's ego-driven maniacs that are narcissistic and that have all kinds of issues in their personal life and in their martial art world life. And they're just too ego-headed to be humble. Now, they could say the same thing about me, but here's what I say to them. I wish you the best, and I would like to encourage you to really do the research to find out where your art comes from, find out who the real senior teachers are, and find out if you really finished the curriculum. Are you guys man enough to find out? If you are, then that would be fantastic. I would love to share with both of you, and all of you actually, and anybody who thinks that they know the curriculum. As gentlemen, we can all get together as grown-ass men to sit down and go through a symposium and see what we know, see what we don't know, see what works, see what doesn't work. This sort of thing happens in a scientific world where you scientifically test things. And I think it's time that people scientifically test their Penchak Silat instead of relying on what he knows and what he doesn't know, the he say, she say stuff, or instead of relying on the Silat community folks that hide behind religion. You know, there's another trend in Silat that's very big like that, and we'll start this in part 2. I'm going to stop this now. We'll continue in part 2.